Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. It is always my honor to welcome our guests and take this time right here to acknowledge that I know that they're coming with several things I deem very expensive. Time. That commodity that has been offered and given to every human being on this earth. By way you respect time, how you honor time, and how you love and your relationship with time will tell me much about you. And the other is their journey. The journey housed tremendous power. It actually created the individual. So that journey is an expensive commodity as well. And we are honored that Sandy is here to come and spend and share both of those with us here at Threads of Enlightenment. Sandy, so much thank you for coming at Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you, Ken, for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you. I want you to let the people know who you are and introduce them to your book as well, what you have created. And then we're going to go into our discussion and talk about that powerful assignment that you have through that book.
Thank you. I'm a holistic nurse and have a vast career of corporate wellness, fitness, managing hospital obesity programs, hospital wellness prevention programs. I'm also a medical intuitive and energy healer. And my book is Why Am I Eating This? Is this the nourishment I need? And this book, Ken, is the culmination of not just my whole career, but my life of starting as a child, actually as being overweight and chubby, and then easing into teenage years, being healthy and thin, becoming a nurse, and seeing the ravages of disease caused by obesity.
Yeah.
And on this journey, hearing thousands of people's stories, I realized there are many internal components to what caused people to eat, overeat, choose the wrong foods. And I really wanted to delve into that and offer tools to people about, most importantly, self-care and self-love. So I'm jumping to the end. I'm giving away the ending. Instead of, I'll just say right up front, this is not a diet book. It's about nourishment and inviting readers to change their relationship with food and themselves.
Yeah.
So I help people change their relationship with food and themselves by discovering that self-love and self-compassion are the doorways in to caring for ourselves in new ways.
Yeah, I know in this realm, in the self-development and spiritual realm and so forth, when people talk about self-love, they usually focus on the spiritual aspect of loving the self. But the term is self-love, means the whole thing. It means spirit, soul, and body. And so you have to learn how to respect your spirit and soul just as much as you respect your body. Why? Because the body is the house of it all. And so we need to, and that mindset is what I'm interested in discovering with you, because we get that from our families and we do that emotional bond to food. So welcome us to your family. What was that family unit like when you were there? We usually visit back and get just a sense of what your family was like. We call them mom and dad. Sometimes I call them scientists that are now going to, bring their thesis through their trauma, however they see the world, traumatized as they are, and now going to love you and I, or to bring us into this unit. What was yours like?
My family was very interesting in that it was my mother, father, and my grandmother, my mother's mother. My grandmother's lineage was German, so she loved to eat heavy, fattening treats, I'll call them. Everything was delicious. My father had been an alternate to the Olympics for track and field, and loved sports, and was a an athlete in the true sense of the word. And he was a very disciplined eater.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk in the book about my father at one end of the table eating just the right amount, saying, no, thank you. I don't want seconds. I don't want dessert. My mother serving very large portions frequently. And she gained a lot of weight, was overweight. And my grandmother was overweight. I'd go up to my grandmother's room to visit, and she'd offer me cookies and candy from all her jars. And my father did not like this.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of contention between my father and grandmother, to the point where they did not speak to each other.
Wow.
And we would eat dinner in the dining room. My grandmother would eat in the kitchen. So let's say that the emotional milieu was very stressful for a child. I was an only child growing up. And what I learned was that food is love. More food gives more comfort and also numbs some of the unpleasant feelings in the house. And also I observed my mother overeating. It was fun. There's a lot of fun around overeating and more and more and more. My father, it wasn't as much fun, being more disciplined, but I really respected him. He exercised every day and kept his weight down. So as I got older and went into high school, I was able to lose weight and was active, and went to college and became a nurse. But honestly, my weight went up and down for many years, say 20 pounds or so, because those, as you say, those first lessons about what is food, when you need comfort, when you're stressed, when you're upset, I would turn to food because that's what I learned as a child. So it took a lot of, as you said, the word retraining, reimagining, and re-caring for myself, learning the tools through a long journey of not just health and wellness, but the mind-body-spirit connection. And I had to learn to care for myself and love myself in new ways. And that meant retraining how I looked at food, how I approached food, what food meant to me, and being able to ask really important questions like, how much is enough? How much is enough? And am I eating this because my body needs the fuel? Or does my soul really crave something else? And I'm using food instead of turning to God, spirit, nature, family, friends, social support. Maybe I need more sleep, all of the above.
Yeah, the food is, and that's why I'm very excited about having you on, because I'm speaking from my background. Food is one of the very first things that we saw the emotional connection with family, and happiness and joy and laughter and all those type things. We call it in a single word, comfort. And that comfort of all of that love and so forth, we just graduate to food. We gravitate towards food to eat, and except for those athletes, like you said, with your dad, the ones that are exposed to the purpose of eating, if you will. And those guys, we always look at them and they always look at us, and we have this little thing. And here you are in your house with that little thing. So you went through to, let me ask you a question, Sandy. Why did you, when you were a young girl in high school and you're heading out to create your world right now, and you're looking in your life forward there, did you head towards nursing? Where did you go? Why did you pick that direction that you headed? You went into school.
That's an interesting question, Ken. My grandmother, who lived with us, was ill for many years. And I wanted to be a nurse from the time I was 6 years old.
Wow.
It was something very innate. My mother could not understand it. She was an economics major. And my father was in business. But again, from the time I was 6, it was clear I wanted to be a nurse. I felt I was here to be a nurse, to help people, to comfort people, to help make them feel better.
Yeah.
And maybe some of that came from the atmosphere in our home.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It was just, there it was. And I actually thought about being a writer along the way because I love to write, but
Yeah.
I ended up doing that. So,
Yeah. Well, I think when we're younger, I think we are aware, we have some awareness of the gifts that reside within us. But when we look at it, we then look at it as to what financial gain can we get from it? Can it support me, if you will? And if it doesn't, it can't, in their mind, like an artist would just abandon their art and their gift until many years later in life when it needs to be resurrected in its some form. So here you are, you're like my mom. She just knew that she wanted to be a nurse. She had her 5 kids and she went back. But I remember as a young boy always hearing her talk about wanting to become a nurse. So you pick that profession. That's a noble profession. You guys are special. My mom, I know what it takes to do that, and I have tons of families in the medical field. You're in this field now, nursing, and it's a vast, minefield, if you will. Why did you pick the specific area that you wanted? I mean, nursing is vast. What drew you to the specificness of your study?
some might say it's coincidence, some might say it's destiny.
Yeah.
But my first assignment as a graduate nurse, and after I passed my boards at a large medical center in Boston, was on a step-down unit for people who had had major surgery, such as bypass
Yeah.
surgery. And I was able to observe someone having repeat bypass surgery. And the woman was very overweight, I remember. And I remember standing in the operating room thinking, this just isn't necessary
Yeah.
for this woman to have repeat bypass surgery. And I then back on the floor saw the impact on her family, all the family
Sandy, let me ask
gathered.
you a
And
question. Um, is that normal? Because from what my understanding was, once you have it, because of the process to get there, you have to go through all these psychological tests, all of these different processes to get there for the initial thing. How?
honestly, Ken, I don't know the answer because I didn't stick around very long
Okay.
doing that. I was there several months and I said to myself, I want to help people avoid this.
Yeah.
I want to help people be healthy and avoid being in the hospital and having to have
Yeah.
surgery. I want to change the health of the country.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was working on Capitol Hill for a congressman. And I had in college volunteered a senator, someone running for Senate. And I said, I'd like to go to Washington and help work on health legislation
Yeah.
somehow. And that's what I did. I went to Washington,
Yeah.
D.C. I ended up, my job was actually a receptionist and then health secretary to the health legislative aid. But I learned a
Yeah.
lot about health legislation and the impact that the government can have. But then I realized that corporations were doing a lot
Yeah.
with corporate wellness and fitness. I got back and got a master's in nursing and focused on corporate wellness and
Yeah.
fitness. So that was the trajectory from seeing the
Uh-huh.
impact of obesity and chronic obesity firsthand, surgery, hospitalizations, to wanting to help people avoid that, make them well,
Mm.
help them be healthy and happy and live a healthy life.
Yeah. And how were you doing, Sandy, when you were there? Were you at that time following your teachings, if you will, following the principles? Because some of our us teachers, we teach everyone else, but we always have the problem with ourselves. But you know, how were you able to manage yourself as far as your weight? What were the tools, if you were aware at that time, were you using to help you with your weight? Or were you still oscillating back and forth?
I would say I managed my weight well.
Hmm.
And because this was my early to mid 20s, I was going through a lot of changes, the physical moves,
Yeah.
then going back to graduate school. Then I ended up getting a job in New York City,
Hmm.
working for a major insurance company, bringing all this prevention and wellness
Yeah.
together. So actually being in that environment, it was much
Yeah.
easier for me to practice what I was preaching because I was literally counseling and
Yeah.
guiding thousands of employees and creating events like Pop In for Fitness and Trash Your Pack,
Yeah. Yeah.
Trash Your Smoking. But I'll say along the way, through the years, there were ups and downs, sometimes 5 or 10
Yeah.
pounds if major stresses were going on in my life. And it wasn't until I deepened my
Yeah.
spirituality and really started bringing it all together,
Yeah.
the mind, body, spirit connection, that I realized it was more than just knowing what to eat or that I needed to exercise every day. Many, many people already do
Yeah.
that. They know what to eat and they exercise, but they're still either overweight or have challenges managing, and they're not even sure what the answer is or why that's happening.
Yeah. When you began to bring the whole you together, and you had to go and excavate the information, if you will, that was hidden within you. When you began that journey, Sandy, what did you discover when you got there, if you will, from all of the the digging, the searching, the excavating, the questioning? What did you discover, and how did you begin to take those steps by bringing in? What tools did you bring into your life to help you to begin to stand up within the spiritual aspect of your life?
It's a deep question, Ken, but I know this is your area of expertise. So I will go there. Along the way, I'll say, going to
Yeah,
therapists and, you know, PhD psychological experts and workshops on mindfulness and mindful self-compassion
yeah,
too. Uh, Through many processes, uh, it takes a willingness to feel
yeah,
what's what's underneath all of
yeah,
this
yeah,
of wanting to numb
yeah,
ourselves and overeat or over whatever. Many people have, we call them drugs of choice.
yes,
It could be not just eating or drinking, it could be
yeah,
shopping,
yeah, yeah,
shopping too much or watching TV all the
yeah,
time. So I finally got to the point where I could feel the trauma in my home growing
yeah,
up from a lot of verbal harshness between the three
yeah,
adults, the unhappiness, the anger, the blame, the judgment. And again, as a young child, as an only child, I was in that
yeah,
by
yeah,
myself to a degree. And I'm an empath also and very sensitive. And I could see how I had taken that on
yeah, yeah,
energetically. And so food was my comfort, my solace, my fun, my entertainment,
yeah,
a way to avoid feeling a lot of that. So through therapy, workshops, retreats, I could unlayer
yeah, yeah,
all of that. And underneath was some perhaps self-hatred,
yeah,
self-blame, self-judgment, unlayering all of that and getting to the essence of
yeah,
me was, oh,
yeah, mhm,
the pure essence of all of
yeah,
us. Every human being is beautiful and innocent and
yeah,
pure. So all that excavating, to use your term, helped me get to the essence of
yeah,
me. the essence of Sandy. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, and just acknowledging that, from there,
Mm-hmm.
it became a journey of, oh, well, I don't need all this extra food anymore
Yeah.
to numb my feelings. I can be honest with them. It's okay. It's safe to feel
Yeah.
whatever I'm feeling. Whether it's, there's a saying, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Am I
Yeah.
overeating because I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired? It could be frustrated, sad. Anyone can add what they want.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean now in my work, that I want to help people change their relationship, not just with food, but themselves,
Yeah.
because it's a two-part equation. First, understanding what's underneath
Yeah.
the desire to overeat repeatedly, especially for people who have tried 99 diets and maybe
Yeah.
lose 10 or 20 pounds and gain it back. It's being able, without judgment, to take a gentle look at why.
Yeah.
What's underneath all of that? Do the excavating.
Yes. The terminology that they use in corporate America is your analysis, your root cause analysis. And so as
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, and that's it. And when you find the root cause in your
Yes.
analysis, the problem is solvable. It's not a problem anymore. When you look at that, you see there's a revelation that comes, and once you have that issue is able, the power of it is disappeared. You look at it and go, oh, I can handle this. And so you have to do
It,
that root cause
yes.
analysis, as they train us, as you know, Sandy, in corporate America, or
Yes.
to do that.
Yes. But it's actually the same,
Hmm.
Ken, with deep excavating, your
Exactly.
scientific term,
Yeah, yeah,
and in energetic work,
yeah,
you know, feeling, and also my work as a medical intuitive,
yeah,
seeing some of the congestion in the body and talking to the person and understanding through this process what are some of the root cause issues, and also then the decisions people made about themselves.
yes,
And from the thousands of people that I've counseled, and being a nurse and hearing stories, I was also a hospice nurse along the
yeah,
way. There are variations of a theme, it seems, for everyone at some level of either I'm not
yeah,
lovable, or I don't deserve love, or I am only lovable if,
yeah,
and I'm not a psychological expert. That's for the mental health professionals to really delve
yeah,
into. I want to say that, but I'll just say this has come up counseling people and as a holistic nurse. And it's very amazing to see that theme
yeah,
repeated, but people aren't aware of it necessarily.
yeah.
They're not aware that some of those pieces are underneath.
And I think most of them, because again, how we are programmed to think, they're on automatic, most of us, when how we live, until someone like yourself, our guide, we call them counselors, are able to interject a question that will disturb that thinking, that will kind of cause it to um, dislodge a little. And then you'll see the eye of the individual begin to open and say things like, I never even thought of that. I didn't know I could
Right.
think like that. And so when that begins to happen, then that situation becomes very small. That monster has disappeared because they recognize, wait a minute, I have some authority here. I have some control. And I always tell people, um, trauma is, it's an emotional pain that is hiding somewhere. It was a situation that caused an incident that you internalize emotionally, and we call those things trauma. We took it and we hold on to it. Based on that, we will now perceive, I will interact with people based on that little trauma. And until I find it, um, to excavate it, to look at it and say, wait a minute, you know, I don't, that's served me well. That's not who I am today. I want to be this. And so you have been sitting in a lab. I call it, there's the thesis and the lab. The lab is when you have all these people coming at you all the time, Sandy, so many of them, and you're seeing and hearing their journey, their pain, and all of this, the hospice. Um, Also, you're seeing the deepness of their pain and their heart and their love and all of those things you're experiencing as a hospice nurse. You, Sandy, how was you dealing with Sandy that she has learned to love her? How was your relationship with you moving through as you are growing and expanding, bringing your love, internal love, with the food? What was happening to her?
Well, Ken, it was a journey over many years.
Oh yeah, it's
I would
always
say,
there.
of many years. Once I heard about and learned, getting into holistic nursing, of the mind, body, spirit connection,
Yeah,
and also the value of therapy, and going to mindfulness workshops and mindful self-compassion. So I look at it as an unlayering
yeah,
and layering and layering that happened over many
yeah,
years. And as I was deepening my own practice, becoming a holistic nurse, an energy healer, a medical intuitive. So it was happening on two levels,
yeah,
the work I was doing on myself and then the work training to be able to help
yeah,
others. So I would say it was a beautiful coming together, this
yeah,
unlayering, and layer by layer, discovering who I really am
yeah,
and being able to celebrate that and realize the tools and gifts I have to help others, which is my mission now, to help others discover who they really are so they can change the relationship with themselves. And then their self-care
yeah,
habits will reflect
yeah,
this new celebration. That's really the message in my book,
yeah,
that self-care is self-love. And when we have compassion for ourselves, however someone wants to describe that, and the ultimate self-love is caring for ourselves as beautiful, uh, vibrant, healthy human beings. So to nurture ourselves based on that, the ultimate self-love
yeah.
and self-care.
What were some of those tools, Sandy, that you, within, as you began to gain knowledge and recognize your state, if you will, what were some of those tools that you brought in, number one, to help and help you in your spiritual growth? Um, and then we'll talk about the growth as far as your choice in making the decisions as to why am I eating this. So, what were some of those tools that you brought into your spiritual life to help you to grow as an individual?
Well, it's really a combination. Um, God, the universe,
Yeah,
spirit, however someone defines that, or the words that they use, the religions that they practice. I believe, you know, God and the ultimate source beings want us to be
yeah,
healthy and to celebrate our bodies as precious
yeah.
temples and gifts to us. So reading a lot about that,
Hmm.
also going to workshops, as I mentioned, mindfulness workshops as an example, to be present in the present
Yeah,
moment with appreciation. Also, when we think about it, grace, people say grace around the world.
yeah,
The tenets of mindful eating, which I started practicing, the basics in the beginning are just being present with the food
hmm,
and giving thanks and appreciation. So one tool I offer people is remember the gift of
yeah,
grace before a meal. And that process actually is a pause and a slowing down of what we're about to do. We're thanking God, the earth, the people who brought this food to us, were pausing with deep appreciation, approaching this food. That gives us time to think, okay, look at this beautiful, bountiful plate of food. How much does my body really need right now?
Yeah.
How much does my body temple need? So bringing spirit and God into this process of mindful eating really, really helped me. The gifts of chewing,
Yeah.
of slowing down, of putting our utensils down
Yeah.
in between bites. And there's a book written many years ago called The Hungry Soul
Mm-hmm.
about the evolution of eating. But it brings in this key question of am I feeding my body or my soul?
Yeah.
And what does my soul need? So all of these questions, Ken, that people are welcome to weave into their eating process can help them approach food in a more spiritual, loving, nurturing way.
Yeah. One of the lessons that I learned, Sandy, was chewing.
Exactly. It's a miracle, right?
Something
The
so
gift of
simple as
chewing.
chewing, and I remember when I read that in the book about just chewing one's food and being present when eating. I began to lose weight because and when they broke down what happens to you as you're chewing, what happens to the food and all of those different things, it's really, really miraculous stuff that is going on within the human body as you're beginning to practice something simple as chewing. Because most of us are rushing back to get to work. You got 15 minutes. You by the time you walk to the place you got to eat, you stand in line, you grab something, quick thing that's just totally unhealthy. Um, and I love why am I eating this? It's a powerful question. Um, it truly is. And how did you come up with that question, Sandy? Because it, while I was reading your stuff and trying to grab information of it, that just hit me. Why am I eating this? Yeah, that's a powerful question.
Well, you'll laugh. There's actually a funny answer. I grew up in
Yeah.
Philadelphia and I love
Hmm.
pretzels. So one afternoon, this is 15 years ago, I was at a friend's house. It was around 4 o'clock. And I realized I wanted a snack. And I'm foraging in her closet. She had some pretzels. And I'm standing there with a bag, just eating the pretzels, very happy.
Yeah.
I love them. And I kept eating. And Ken, it was a light bulb moment, literally. Why am I eating this? Why am I? And I was happy. Everything was fine, but I love
Yeah.
pretzels and, standing there, just putting them in my mouth. And that was really the start of it.
Yeah.
Why am I eating this? I thought that's a great idea of book and something to write
Yeah.
about, to really delve into this question of why we overeat or why we just keep eating
Yeah.
mindlessly. What's really going on? And what tools can help people, retrain and reframe
Yeah.
how they put food in their bodies and nourish themselves. That's how it
Yeah,
started.
it's a powerful question. As I said, it kind of stopped me in my tracks as I was reading it, and because I'd never um, put that sentence together when it came to food. So I was like,
It's a good one. It's a good one,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's a powerful one because it causes the individual, as it did to you, it stopped you and you're like, yeah, why? And what did it do? It propelled you onto a journey. And that journey was to find out what was the mechanisms within that question as to why am I eating this. So once that question came up, Sandy, and you began to, it probed you, it changed you so much that it propelled you to create a book. When that entered in, and you began to now seek knowledge, what did it do? Because I personally think that is one of the most powerful questions I've ever heard. What did it do to you?
Wow. Well, it opened up my awareness,
Yeah.
and then it opened up a whole new body of information to bring
Yeah.
to my patients and clients. I taught workshops in hospitals and corporations. And bringing the themes of mindful eating, as you talk about chewing. Chewing's actually the first point of digestion.
Yep.
And people don't realize how important
Yeah.
chewing is. So bringing in the physical aspects of how it's valuable. The other aspect of takes 20 minutes for the message to get to the brain from the stomach that we're full.
Yeah.
A lot of people eat in 5 or 10 minutes and they think they're still hungry.
Yeah.
And they keep eating. But more than that, the information about emotionally, for people to start checking in and tuning in with their emotions as they ask themselves the question. And I always tell people that question, why am I eating this, can be asked in many different ways.
Yeah.
It can be fun, like, why am I eating this? It can be, why am I eating this? More from a deep pondering. And then I add little spin-offs like, you're standing in the kitchen in front of the refrigerator. Why would I want to eat this right now?
Yeah.
Why would I want to choose this? What's really going on that I'm standing in front of the refrigerator or the cupboard just staring?
Yeah.
So delving into the mind, body, spirit, emotions, and also cognitive restructuring. The power of self-talk, which psychologists use. I bring in self-talk and positive self-talk. And that is very, very, very powerful for people to, it's gentle self-talk. It's not blaming. It's not judging. More of these, again, why would I want to put this chocolate in my body at 9 p.m. when I'm about to go to sleep? Or why would I want to eat empty calorie junk food right now when I'm tired and my body probably needs fuel and maybe some water? So being able to ask these questions in loving and compassionate ways opens up the doorway for people to think about these choices more in terms of self-love and not, this is a diet. I can eat this. I can't eat that. My approach has nothing to do with you can or can't, because food also can be fun. Food can be entertainment, enjoy. But think about it a little more mindfully.
I think that's a powerful lesson, Sandy, because, and I want to delve in a little to the emotional aspect of eating, because as we stated earlier, this is powerful stuff, because it is, most of it is what we've been taught, and we are pretty well, we're all okay with that, but it does cause much harm within the body. I had learned how to, my favorite ice cream is vanilla. I love simple stuff. And I would sit there and eat half of that thing. And I read something about compulsive personality and realized, wait a minute, I have a little problem. And so, but I was able, from reading and gaining information and looking at myself, and I was able to take 2 spoonfuls of ice cream and put everything back. And I remember a friend was visiting, he said, how do you have such self-control? And I told him it took many years of reprogramming my mind. I remember saying that.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
How do you assist them? Because again, you're learning, you're gaining all this knowledge, and yet you're still counseling people. As you are gaining this knowledge now, and you are now going to become this scientist, as I said earlier, with your thesis, you're going to now try to deposit and transfer this knowledge and this information into these wonderful people that are in front of you. At first, when you're having that conversation, what was their response at first when you started bringing in the and making them aware that they need to start rewiring their mind?
Mm-hmm.
How did they receive that?
That's a great question, Ken. There's a powerful term in behavior change theory, which is readiness. And there's stages of readiness,
Yeah.
pre-contemplation when you're thinking about it, and contemplation, and then you're ready. And we all know people who have gone on diets and then they just stop.
Yeah.
Other people are very highly motivated. So for everyone, there needs to be this readiness. Like, yes, I'm ready to
Yeah.
think about behavior change, whatever they want to change. But the other thing I learned is it's a combination of external changes with internal changes.
Yeah.
Some of the external changes include having healthy food in your house.
Mhm.
If you are someone who's a compulsive eater around chips or cookies or crackers or candy or ice cream, don't have it in your house. And if you want it as a treat, have it now and then.
Yeah.
So that's something about changing the external environment. The other powerful tool, which I taught, and this was eye-opening for thousands of people,
Yeah.
reading labels. The power in reading a label, many people do it now, but understanding how much is a serving.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That to me, underneath why am I eating this could be how much is in one serving. So even things like trail mix, people buy a bag of trail mix,
Yeah.
yum, nuts and raisins. And well, if you look carefully, it might be 6 servings.
Yeah.
Do you know how much willpower it takes to open a bag of trail mix or nuts and put 6 servings in baggies and weigh them? Chips are another example,
Yeah.
tortilla chips, even healthy ones, the healthiest ones. It's easy to stand
Yep.
there eating them. Well, a serving might be 8 chips.
Yeah.
It might be 14 chips. Yeah. So teaching people with literal labels
Mhm.
to look at what's in how much is a serving size, but also what are the ingredients in the food we eat?
Yeah.
Cereal, crackers, anything, canned foods. What's the number one ingredient? Is it the food you really want to be eating?
Yeah.
That gives people a lot of power. So one of the main tools that helped people change was label reading.
Yeah.
And understanding serving size. Some people get a scale
Mhm.
and weigh ounces and grams. The other main tool is the internal changes of pausing
Yeah.
before eating or choosing food and tuning in, what's really going on right now?
Yeah.
How are my emotions? How am I feeling? What fuel do I want to put in my body right now? What fuel does my body need? And how much? How much is just enough?
Yeah.
Being willing to ask that question from a loving space, no judgment. How much is enough?
Yeah.
When we think of Olympic athletes
Yeah.
or, high caliber athletes. They have nutritionists and trainers. We see, on TV documentaries. They put just the right amount of fuel into their bodies. They don't want too much. My father used to say, you wouldn't stand there at a gas pump and just let the gas tank overflow and the gas go all over the pavement.
Yeah.
And I love that analogy that when our fuel tank, when our bodies have had enough,
Yeah.
stop. Gas tanks at least have automatic shutoffs. But it's okay to say, stop.
Yeah.
I've had enough. I'll wrap the food up. I'll put it in the refrigerator, or at a restaurant, I'll ask for it to go.
Yeah.
And I'll get to enjoy this delicious food another day.
Yeah. And as you were having that conversation, Sandy, and you were relaying and educating those that were there amongst your space, what feedback did you begin to receive from them? Those that had adhered to your guidance, how did it begin to affect them and their lives as they began to relay that to you?
Many of them were ready
Mm-hmm.
to make these changes and changed all of what we've been talking about. And because they were ready.
Yeah, yeah.
So the external environment, what's in their refrigerator, reading labels, adding exercise, daily exercise, seeing psychologists or mental health professionals, and understanding perhaps trauma or PTSD might be affecting how they were eating. Many lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Others were not ready.
Yeah.
They were making the changes, say, in what they were eating, but it wasn't changing how much.
Yeah.
Because they were on a journey. Everyone goes at their own
Yeah.
pace with their mental health professional and weren't ready yet
Yeah.
for whatever reason. And it's everyone's on their own time frame. But just the tools of label reading,
Yeah.
serving sizes, changing what's in a refrigerator, and realizing also there's something called a wheel of health, the circle of health. There's an example in my book: family, friends, and social support, sleep, water, spirituality, sunshine. These are all the components of what nurture us.
Yeah.
It could be that someone is overeating because they're sleep deprived,
Yeah.
or they feel lonely, or perhaps they're not drinking enough water. Perhaps there's a medical reason. But bringing all of that into our mind, body, spirit
Yeah.
health involves looking at how am I caring for myself in all ways. Sleep is a great example.
Yeah. I hope you guys are listening. And I always say to my listeners, Sandy, try to become hearers, someone that heard what is being said. Because when you hear what is being said, there is, I believe, those are the ones that are ready. The listeners are not ready; they'll move on. But when you hear it, it changes you. It causes you a moment of reflection and begin to investigate. And for those that are struggling with weight and the understanding of food, why you're eating what you're eating, what's driving you. I have an individual that I'm talking with that has been in this space for a long time, and she has gathered much information within her being. And you guys can have access to all of it. There's a book that she wrote. It's called, I love that thing. Why am I eating this? Is this the nourishment I need? The second edition of that book. Those are powerful questions that you must ask yourself if you're dealing with weight issues. But it's just not a weight thing, as Sandy stated. It is much more than that. And you may be going on a diet over and over. You're only dealing with one part of it. You're missing the we talked about the core analysis. You're missing that stuff, and I have someone that is skilled in bringing you to that piece. And once you discover that, everything, it's not a diet anymore. It is just shifting one's belief, shifting one's perspective, and it has nothing to do with dieting. When you shift your perspective, you're creating a new you. You're taking everything, you're changing the way you speak, the way you think, the way you walk. Everything becomes different when you change your perspective. You gain knowledge, insight, and strength. I have a question on you, Sandy. Here you are, all of this because you've been in this space for a mighty long time, and you've seen a lot of people, and you've seen those common threads. The common threads cause you to bring this book to fruition. Now, before you did that, and you had it inside of you to become an author, and this is your second edition. But that first time, what was it that caused you, that led you down the path that says it's time to put pen to paper, as they say? What was it that caused that to happen?
Well, the first time, Ken, it was the pretzels. And literally having this light bulb moment. And I thought, I have to share this. This is a light bulb
Yeah.
moment. People, this can help people. Just asking this. I felt like just having the cover of the book,
Yeah.
why am I eating this, with a light bulb,
Yeah.
even if there wasn't I've heard of books with empty pages. It's all about the cover. But
Yeah.
I felt I had information to share. The second edition, Ken, is really bringing everything I've learned
Yeah.
about the mind, body, spirit, energy
Yeah.
connection in the past 10 years or so
Yeah.
since the first book was published. And it's such powerful information
Yeah.
when you combine people tuning in think of a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
Our minds, bodies, spirits, and energy systems are always interacting.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where we are, in home or a busy airport or store, around other people, and the energies of other people affect our energies.
Yeah.
So giving people the tools to tune in at any moment, quick check-in. How am I doing?
Yeah.
Mind, body, spirit, energetically. How am I nourishing myself in all these ways? And actually, when people go to my website, there's an excerpt of the new material that they will get for free that explains some of this, because I wanted to give away some of the new material that's about nourishment and understanding our energy systems, our complex pathways of neural connections affected by what's going on inside of us, but also the external environment. So all of that affects how we feel every day. And then also what we choose to put in our bodies to care for ourselves, or perhaps because we're upset. So those are the tools I wanted to share in the new edition.
Awesome. And again, you guys that are listening to me and listening to this conversation, I want to tell you something. I believe the reason why you are oscillating with your weight and going back and forth is because you haven't dealt with the emotional issue. Period. It is why we behave in our craziness until we go and find that. That's where the darkness is, but that's once it's uncovered and becomes light, the power has been taken away. There's a great deal of understanding. And when that has arrived within that, once you begin to see it, you will not oscillate back and forth. You, it will be you. It's you on this. You discovered something as the reason why you're doing what you're doing, and it's based on an emotional situation someone did to you or said to you or you did based on that food. And it could be a family. And that's why I said to Sandy in the beginning of this, her assignment is a powerful one because the emotion is one of the most powerful forces out there within the human space. And she has to bring knowledge, patience, love, all of those powerful tools with her to help you to reprogram yourself. And so, Sandy, I want to thank you for coming to Threads of Enlightenment. This has been beautiful. And we're going to provide everything for you guys to reach her. And you know how I feel, my audience. You know how I feel about books. I want you guys to buy her books. The reason why is this, and I've said this to you before. When you have an author's book and you have your space, your quiet time, always find your quiet time. Don't read in a rush. Get your coffee, get your tea, get whatever it is. But find yourself, you're putting your mind in a certain state. The theta states is when we receive information. When you relax, I promise you those words have the ability to jump from that page lodged into you and change your life forever. And when you sit down, you're having a one-on-one conversation with Sandy, with her words speaking to you. And when you want to ask her questions, you get on, I'm going to give you her link and everything. You get into her space and says, I heard you talking to Ken. I have a few questions. And she will guide you and take you to
Yes.
that space that you need to be. Sandy, this has been good stuff.
Thank you, Ken, for this beautiful and enlightening discussion. And thank you for bringing light to this powerful topic.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful, beautiful discussion.
Thank you. I am honored to
Thank
have
you.
you because I believe any person that presents, it's time for your message or information. Someone is needing this, or many, and so you presented to give them the information necessary to change their life and their family life forever. And so I am honored that you're here, and I thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.